I'm going to do open so you guys get the full, raw, unfiltered Terminator. Yeah, it sounds sick.
Spencer's in across the room in another room, and every time he hits the snare, it's so loud. It's like that subconscious like blink. Like I blink every time it hits because it's so gnarly.
So when you brought this over and I was playing it, I was like, oh man, this thing is really cool. We were discussing, is it $4,000 cool?
This will blow your mind, Spencer. I bet you didn't know this. The original one, some have sold between $10,000 and $20,000
Wow.
for one snare drum. There's been a couple different Tama bell brass snares, and that's what we're covering today. That have came out, and this one celebrates the 40th anniversary of Tama and that snare. So this is a 2015 or 2016 model, serial number, the big 50. The original Tama bell brass came out in the 80s. It was nicknamed the Terminator, coffin-style lugs. It was a bell bronze, bell brass, sand-casted metal snare, just massive. A bunch of great bands used it, from Queens of Stone Age, Metallica, Rage Against the Machine. A lot of 80s and 90s bands that were playing heavy and hitting heavy were using a snare like this.
Queens of the Stone Age, soundtrack of my childhood. Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, Brad Welk from Rage Against the Machine and Audioslave. So I only heard about these kinds of snares recently because there's a YouTube video out there of Brad picking up, I think, the original kind of version of this.
Yeah.
That is being remade or reissued or something like that. All I know is it sounded really cool. And Brad's snare sound on the Rage Against the Machine stuff and the Audioslave stuff, it's like one of my favorite snare sounds. I think it may be hard to justify spending $4,000 on one snare drum when you could get a whole kit. But if it's like me, where you have a friend like Loren who owns this already, then yeah, have him bring him over and we'll record it.
There's the 80s versions, the Mastercraft 80s version, which had a different lug. Then the 90s came around and you got a piccolo and a few different versions with different lugs as well. And this in 2015 or 2016 is another version. So this one is a little more pink. It's a 3mm thick brass shell with modern hardware die-cast hoops. And what kind of heads are on these, Spencer?
You purchased this from someone who had an Evans Level 360 on it?
I'm hearing that the bottom head is choking it out a little bit. Yeah, this can probably go up. And this has Evans heads, and I never used Evans. All right, that sounds a little more my vibe.
Yeah, give us the bong.
Ooh, it's a nice pure tone. It's a sick sounding snare. And it has this mute on it. It's the M80
Snare weight.
snare weight.
Maybe in the last like 5 years, there's a revival of the bell brass snare drum in general. Everyone's making their own version of the Tama bell brass, which is kind of cool that multiple companies are paying homage to this iconic snare.
Yeah, I mean, what would, if someone doesn't have $4,000 and they want this sound at an affordable-ish rate where they could still afford the rest of the drums, what would you recommend?
I think the best like cost-effective route, Guven is a manufacturer and fabricator in, I think is Istanbul or over in that area, the Middle East, and they make sand-casted or centrifuged shells out of like bronze bell brass, so you can kind of DIY build your own. Or I know Gretsch has a great like really heavy brass snare. I think that's in like the $600 or $700 range, which is still a hefty price for a snare, but compared to $4,000, that's a deal.
So if someone loves the Tama Terminators, how does the anniversary one stack up against the other Holy Grail versions of this kit?
You know, that is a heavily debated topic online. I come from the side that sounds like a good drum, and I think they sound indistinguishable. It's a big heavy metal snare, sounds so close to all the other big heavy metal snares that I personally can't tell the difference. But there's guys on there like, oh, 3mm shell sounds way different than the 5mm shell, and this one has reverse re-rings, this brand with this hoops. It sounds like a great snare in my opinion, and I think it stacks up. I've played real ones from the 80s, the 90s. This reissue, I have a Duluth replica, which that's a hot topic online too. They don't make those anymore. What else? I've played a bunch, and I think they all sound good, and they all sound like a heavy snare.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind owning one of these. He grew up in Southern California, K-Rock.
Yeah.
This is all over that. This is what I'm getting from your knowledge.
Spencer and I chatted with Dan Bailey, friend of the show. And his view is, you know, he's played them too, but he has a light touch. And I was saying when I was playing Spencer's drums earlier, that snare doesn't really fit my playing style either. I don't have like the thwack, like the heavy hand to like really open it up. I'm a little too light of a player, so it never sounded that great when I'm playing it. So I think it is all personal preference too. Maybe one player sounds great on this snare drum and another sounds great on the 80s snare drum.
Beautiful snare drum. Thank you for bringing it by.
Yeah.
Maybe you could get Loren to find you an original Terminator.
Who knows?
Purchase it from him.
Yeah, fund my kids' college fund with one snare drum. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
You're working it, dude.